Mickey, it's Linda. How are you?
Okay.
Good to see you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Happy birthday.
Because you're muted.
Mickey, it's
Happy birthday, Linda. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Isaac.
Oh, happy birthday, Linda.
Thank you.
Birthday, too?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank
happy
you.
birthday.
Linda Silverman, birthday?
Today, right, Linda?
Yeah.
Mine is Monday.
Oh, happy
Oh.
birthday.
Happy birthday, Mickey.
Many more, Mickey.
In advance.
Wow. Do it one day.
That'll
Happy
be
birthday, Mickey.
Thank you.
Happy
That'll be
birthday, Mickey Joyce.
good.
26.
So I have just gone ahead and muted everyone. Happy birthday to Linda Kushner Silverman, and happy birthday in advance to Mickey Platt, who just told us that his birthday is on Monday. So we will include you in our prayer of gratitude when we come to that. Meanwhile, welcome everybody to our Shabbat services. We are live on YouTube, so welcome also to anyone who's joining us on YouTube. I'd like us to just take a moment and put down whatever we're carrying around today, anything that has accumulated during the week and is weighing us down. Let's see if we can just take a breath and breathe out whatever tension is in our bodies. We are entering our sanctuary in time, the day of Shabbat, which is a day different than the rest of the days of the week, a day when we can let go of our workaday world, whatever that means, and enter into a special holy time. If you have a prayer book, we're beginning on page 126. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. For the blessing over the candles, I would like to invite Diane Schenker. Diane, are you here? Yes, there you are. Would you unmute, please? Diane and Lester celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary this month, and so we're so pleased to be able to give them the honors this evening.
Thank you so much for that honor. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. And now I'd like to invite Lester to read the English for us of the Kiddush.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagofen. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who, finding favor with us, satisfy us with mitzvah. In love and favor, you made the holy Sabbath, Shabbat, our heritage, as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us Holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Bekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodesho b'havov ratzon hilchilanu zikaron l'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah l'mekarai kodesh zeicher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'chata v'yatanu kidashta mikol ha'amim b'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava v'ratzon hinachaltanu baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Thank you, Diane and Lester. We continue on with our wonderful cantorial soloist, Noni Schuster Donato, with Lecha Dodi. If you have a prayer book, it's on page 138. We turn to one another and say, Beloved, come with me to greet the Shabbat bride.
Lecha Dodi likret kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela shamo v'zochor b'dibor echad ishmi anu el hamyochad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litila Lecha Dodi likret kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof mashe b'machshavat tchila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela hitoriri hitoriri ki vorek uri uri shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela boi v'shalom materet bala gam b'simcha uvtzola toch emunei Am segula, boy chala, lechatoti likra kala, yalalai, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalalai, 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 yalalai.
Let's be seated if you have risen. And we continue. If you have a prayer book on page 148, please read with me if you choose and if you can see the words. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 150.
Ahavat olam b'Yisrael, amecha havta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu, ufkumenu nasiach b'chukecha, v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Kichem chayenu, v'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, v'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
We continue with the Shema. If you have a prayer book, it's page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu
אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך וריבתה בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, ויתן קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet. We continue on page 156. If you see the words, please read with me. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
Mi khamoch baylim Adonai, mi khamoch neidar bakodesh, norati hilot osefele, norati hilot osefele. Malchutecha rohvanecha, bakayom lifnei Moshe uMiriam, zehilianu ve'amru, zehilianu ve'amru. Adonai Imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai Imloch le'olam va'ed.
V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'ya'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapurei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל לא תהי לעולם לעולם, כי ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם את הארץ, וביום השביעי, שבת שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Tefillah, if you have a prayer book, begins on page 164. If you're able and if you choose, I invite you to rise.
Adonai sefetai tiftach ufi yagid hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohi Avotinu v'Imoteinu Elohi Avraham Elohi Yitzchak Elohi Yaakov Elohi Sarah Elohi Rivka Elohi Rachel Elohi Leah Ha'el Hagdol Hagibor Ve'hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Tekonei Hakol V'zocher Chasdevot Ve'imot U'mevii Geulav Livnei V'neihem Lamon Shemo Be'hava Melech Ozer Moshiach Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham V'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai Mechayei hakol atarav lehoshia Ma'ashiv haruach U'morit hagashem Mechalkel chayim bechesed Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim Somech noflim Terafech olim U'matir asurim Umekayim emunato lishenei afar michamocha bal givurot umidon elach melech memit umachayei umatniach Yeshua b'nei manat halechachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Let's be seated. Please read with me on page 173 if you can see the words. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. We come now to our prayer of gratitude. And so I invite you to put in the chat anything that you're feeling grateful for. I will start us off with gratitude for Diane and Lester Schenker, for them as people, as well as for their 70th anniversary this week. Same thing for Linda Kushner Silverman, gratitude for Linda and also for her birthday today. And gratitude for Mickey Platt and for his birthday coming up on Monday. And, you know, gratitude for all of you as people as well. What else would people like to express gratitude for? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and say it out loud. Susan?
Yeah, I am very grateful that here in Brooklyn, although the red zone restrictions remain, the orange has turned to yellow. And so there is hope.
There is indeed hope. Thank you, Susan. Diane? Oh, you muted yourself, Diane. Schenker? Oops.
Okay.
Yes.
I am so happy to be able to share our anniversary with all our dear temple members and our friends. Thank you so much for letting us participate tonight.
Thank you for doing it. Let's see. Lori Pandolfo says her niece Jacqueline closed on her apartment in Brooklyn. Mazal tov to Jacqueline. Please give her our congratulations, Lori. Patricia is grateful for life and for all the musicians who are keeping our spirits up. Darby Goldberg is grateful for family and friends. Charlotte had an unexpected visit from her daughter Paula today. Modim anachnu lach for that. We are grateful for family and friends and for visits from them. Who else? Does anybody else have something else to add that you're grateful for today? All right. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We offer thanks for all of these things to God in whatever way that we understand that word God. We continue with our prayer for peace, which we always need, peace in our hearts and in our homes and in the world.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amachot tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amachot tasim le'olam. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amecha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amecha tasim le'olam. וטוב בנך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך tasim le'olam.
Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We continue now. We have one more gratitude that I would like to add from Linda Kushner-Silverman, that her biopsy came out cancer-free, which that is always something for a great deal of gratitude. So we're very glad for you, Linda. Modim anachnu lach. We continue now quietly. There are words on the screen. There are words on the page if you have a prayer book on 180 and 181. But of course, we can always use the words in our own hearts.
Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, v'goli, v'goli.
May the words of our mouths and the meditations in our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. I invite you, if you have not sent names for those you are praying for healing this evening into the office, you may put them into the chat now. I'll also give you a chance, if you prefer, to say them out loud. This evening, we hold in our thoughts and in our hearts for healing Jesse Sakharoff, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Alan Fremer, Susan Bilecki, Andrew Mazzella, Arlene Rosenthal, Michael Luck, Barry Strumpf, Selma Carl, Suzanne Leknos, Andy Glansman, Julie Falkowski, Amy Juskowitz Soonseller, Ira and Deanna Roth, Shirley Amrani, Roz Borenstein, Susan Shuro, Irv Weiner, Eddie DeAngelis, Ira Goldman, Vicki Lightnaker, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Richie Stein, Ira Goldman, Jeff Abel, Tanya Arnowitz, Fran Sisler, Ruth Ryback, Freya Kashmir, Delphine Wolf, Rita and Perry Kravitz, Lisa Pioni, Irv and Dottie Tabakman, Dana Arnowitz, Emily Seff, Jack Ziesing, Meryl Bilecki, Philip Rosenzweig, Danielle Goldberg, John Carfisi, Esther Botlucci, Burnett Ford, Harold Gleiberman, Florence Schoen, Sandy Silverman, Reba and David Cohen, Phyllis O'Neill, Alan Rolnick, Ellie Heimlich, Claude Smith, Heriberto Cubero, Jenny Grandos, Alana Aram, Harold Gleep, I already said Harold, Burnett Della Cohen, Barbara Brodsky, Iris Merlis, Ruth and Arthur Penn, Leslie Rogowski, Maxine Breland, Liz Yasuda, Park Shing Lam, Richard Zagam, Mark Steiner, Paul Steiner, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Monica Beyer, Marion Mandel, Mimi Karp, Linda Kushner Silverman. Chanel Kamabach, Warren Feliz, Jimmy Jenkins, Peter Gale, Paul Kastick, Shirley Joseph, Joanna Marie, Jackson and Tara Kushner, Stanley Tenen, Shelley Samet, David Gershon, Camille McGinnis, Ronnie Katlowitz, Tanya Griffiths, Arnold Moss, Zvi Vigder, or Wigder, Howard Mishkin, baby Gideon Ben Bree from Deanna Roth, Amy Figueroa, Jane Evans, Suzanne Mishler Hernandez, Enid Cole. Does anyone else have any names they would like to add aloud? You may unmute yourself if you do. Jesse.
Ellen Hoyt and Ronald Bork.
Bert
Rabbi.
Migdal
Yes.
and Suzanne Helrich.
Mhm. Judith?
I'm sorry I was late, Rabbi. I had computer trouble. I couldn't get in.
That's okay.
It was, don't ask. I'm so frustrated. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. The Mausman family, Stacy, David, Lauren, Julia, and Wilma, Hannah Paines, and Irene Nashna. Thank you, and good Shabbos. I'm sorry I was late.
Good Shabbos. Don't worry about it. I'm glad you made it. Anybody else? Names to add? All right. We also, I also see Elliot Woofsey. We also include all of those who are suffering from COVID-19, those who are suffering from the measures we're taking to try to slow the spread of the virus, those who have lost their homes or been hurt in the wildfires in our country right now in Colorado, also the ones in California and the Pacific Northwest, the hurricanes, the derecho in Iowa, those who have been wounded in service to our country or Israel and harmed in any other disasters, either natural or human created. If you have a prayer book, it's on page 371, Misha Berach.
Misha Berach, Avotenu, Mikor HaBracha, Lemotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach, Imotenu Mikor HaBracha, Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As I said before, it's very good to be with you. Last week, in the very first Torah portion of the Torah, Bereshit, we read about the creation of the world, two separate accounts of the creation of the world, in fact. And this week, in the second parsha of our Torah, Noach, we read about the end of the world. God gets frustrated because apparently after a few generations, evil pervades the earth, and God decides to end all life except for a select few and start again. This is the story of Noah. We sing cute songs about it. We make adorable toys for our kids. I personally have a wooden Noah's Ark with little wooden animals, and a quilted Noah's Ark with little quilty animals, and a Noah's Ark nightlight. And I also think there's like a piece of art with Noah's Ark that somebody got for one of my children when they were little. As adults, many of us begin to realize that there is nothing cute about this story. It is deeply frightening and it's traumatic. because it really is about the end of the world. But as it pretty much always does, life goes on even after the great flood of Noah. And in this same Torah portion, after the flood ends and Noah and his family repopulate the earth, we have another story, the story of the Tower of Babel. It's just a little story at the end of our Torah portion, which gives a lot of attention to Noah and that story. But in the Tower of Babel story, we are told everyone spoke the same language. They all understood each other. And the people decided to build a tower, the Torah says, to make a name for themselves. God sees them, and there's something about the project that God doesn't like. It seems like God thinks they're able to do too much. So God confuses their speech and scatters them over the earth so that it's much harder for them to accomplish anything together. In one sense, this is a kind of just so story. You remember the Jungle Book and all of the just so stories, how the leopard got its spots and all of those. This is kind of like that, right? A myth to explain why it is that humans in the world speak so many different languages. Here's how that happens. Okay. But this is the Torah. This isn't just a just so story. We look for something deeper in the Torah. And when we do, one of the questions that arises from this particular story is, what is so bad about people being able to communicate and cooperate to do great things? Why is that bad? It seems like that would be something good. The rabbis of the Midrash asked that question too. And of course, for the rabbis of the Midrash, they couldn't say God was wrong. There has to be something that made it so that God's response was reasonable. One of the stories that they told is that as the builders were building the tower, and as it grew higher and higher, and the workers had to carry the bricks up to the top to put them on the top of the tower, if a worker lost their balance and dropped a brick and it broke, the builders would be very upset. Oi! Now we have to make another brick and carry it all the way up there. Ah! But if a worker lost their balance and fell to their death, the builders would say, oh, well, we have plenty of workers. And so for this Midrash, the issue is not that they're cooperating. It's that they're so concerned with the building itself that they don't care about people's lives. They think property is more important than lives. Another question this story raises is, why build a tower? What does a tower do for people that another kind of structure does not? One answer that is often given is that they were trying to get to God. After all, we're pretty well conditioned, aren't we, to think that God is somewhere up there, right? God is in the sky or on a mountain. When we do the Shema with the hand motions, we say, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. God is up there on a mountain, on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, perhaps, but definitely up. But one of my teachers from rabbinical school, Dr. Diane Sharon, says, no, not in this case. God is not up. She reminds us that this is just after that massive world-destroying flood. And so she says, for these people, God is not in the sky. God is in the water that floods the world and destroys you and you drown. And so she says the builders of the tower were not trying to get to God. They were trying to get away from God. If you build a huge tower and God decides to have another huge flood, you can go to the top of your tower and be safe from the flood and from God. But here's the thing. You're not going to be able to fit everyone into the top of your tower. God decided who would be saved from the flood in Noah's time. With the Tower of Babel, if there were another flood, humans would decide who would get to survive. And knowing humans, the ones at the top of that tower would be the powerful ones in society, not the weak ones. And so in this interpretation, God says, no, you don't get to decide who lives and who dies in a natural disaster. We have a phrase for when humans make decisions about who gets to be saved and who doesn't, don't we? What do we call it? We call it playing God. And we know that it's generally not right or just when human beings decide who lives and who dies, either through neglect or through action. The builders of the Tower of Babel in this interpretation fear a flood. Their way of dealing with it would save a few, but not the majority. And God is communicating that that is not a worthy project. Rather, humans should be concerned with all other humans. And if we want to put effort into protection from natural disaster, our goal should be to protect everyone, not just those who have the most money or status in society. It's true that God saves only a few in the earlier story of our Torah portion of Noah and the flood, but that's not the same thing. We are not God. We might not like what God does, but depending on your understanding of God, God might be the creator of the universe, or God might be the universe, or God might be any number of other things. But one thing we know for sure that God is not is a human being like us. So the same rules do not apply. God knows way more than we do. God is way more mysterious than we can comprehend. And so just because God does something doesn't make it okay for us to do it too. Our job is to remember that in last week's Torah portion, God created humanity b'tselem Elohim, in God's image, every single one of us. And so it's not our place to privilege the lives of some humans over the lives of others. We are not equipped to determine which people are more or less valuable and therefore deserving of protection from death or not. That's what the interpretation I'm bringing you today says is wrong with the tower. The builders didn't care about all the people, only some. And so they were scattered and their language confused. As we have learned each other's languages since then, we have sometimes, though too rarely, done better than the builders of the tower at taking care of each other. So let's recognize now how hard it is to really understand one another, even when we are technically speaking the same language, and how hard it is to value all human lives equally. Let us try to listen and build understanding among each other, also building bonds of friendship and caring so that other people are not so other. When we think about how to keep ourselves and other people safe from natural disasters or other dangers, let us remember to think of everyone, no matter what their role in our society. May God's rainbow, the promise to Noah that the world would never again be destroyed by water, become our promise to value the lives of all humans and not to build a tower that takes care of only a few. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
Broken hearts, shattered visions, pieced together one by one. Can we start again? Can you hear us? You can? Okay, we're going to start again because I wasn't sure what, I had something weird come up on my screen. So here we go. Save a Life by Debbie Friedman. Broken hearts, shattered visions, pieced together one by one. yet another, and the world's destroyed, but save life and you will save the world. In the garden, voices singing, wipe your eyes now, no more fears. Take my hand, we'll build the world together. Save life and you will save the world. Morning comes, a new day has begun. See the light and come to greet the day. The voices of angels sing, words of comfort whispering. Save a life and you will save the world. Take my hand, we'll build the world together. Save life and you will save the world. Take my hand, we'll build the world together. Save life and you will save the world.
We are going to continue now with the Aleinu. It begins at the top of page 586 in the prayer book and goes to page 591. I invite you, if you choose and if you're able, to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Let's be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months, or in past years at this time of the year. If you have names to add for the mourners Kaddish that you have not sent to the office, please add them in the chat, and I'll also give you an opportunity, if you prefer, to add them aloud. We remember those who have died in the past year. Manny Pastor, Ruth Rubin, Emerson Berger, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Carolyn McNamara, Marion McGivney, Ronnie Turek, Michaela Schaefer, Helen Zagerman-Schwimmer, Ido Sheffy, Elaine Gordette, Dr. Stephen Kamholtz, Carol Gross, Carol Andre, Robert Serpico, Jeanette Riley, Melvin Barish, William Lamp, Ina Sandals, Martin Shankin, Solomon Tettelbaum, Howard Jankelowitz, Sean Singer, Jeff Harris, Sammy Berger, Rabbi Kenneth Roseman, Chaim Braunzweig, Harry Baylor, Ben Schaefer, Shirley Hyatt Tobias, Myron Klein, Ted Tobias, Rita Belay, Jay Jankelowitz, Sandy Gannon Abel, David Ribbler, Beth Newman, Buzz Lorch, Benjamin Benjamin Elwood, Edward Albino, Joseph Davis, Jerry Charon, Gary Zeitlin, Sean Devlin, David Levy, Lenny Drucker, Beverly Tredinnick, Evelyn Pincus, Rita Spiro, Beatrice B.J. Jacobs, and last week was the yard sites of Melvin Jorgrau and Gloria Katzen. Also, Lena Friedson Silverman, Linda Kushner Silverman is including her aunt, Rose Garbowitz. On our yard site list this week are Caroline Davis, who was Eric Platt's former mother-in-law, Maud S. Kunofsky, who was Joyce Kantrowitz's mother, William Lipton, Paul Lipton's father, Benny Olasav, David Olasav's cousin, and David Olasav's aunt, Ann Tigler, Jan Tuttleman, Emma Tuttleman Kriegler's grandmother, Dissy Wilco, Brian Wilco's great-grandmother, Frances Wolfe, Sherry Burns and Milton Platt's sister, Nathan Zausner, Linda Feller's father, and Scott Perlman, Michael Rose's stepbrother.
I'd like to add the name of Louise Gruenberger, who's on the yurt site list. She was the mother of Ilsa Korkus, who was an officer of our previous temple. And Louise Gruenberger was also a Holocaust survivor and is responsible for saving Ilsa. She sent Ilsa on one of the last kinder transports that was sent out of Vienna.
Wow, thank you for that. Karen Kramer is adding Leah Trislanger and Inga Probetsky, and it's also her mother's yard site tonight, Lila Kramer. Any other names to add? Okay. We also include all of those around the world who have died from COVID-19 and those who have died from other causes, whether in war or famine, terror, disaster, whether natural or human created, or alone and homeless on the streets of our cities. I invite you to participate in the Mourner's Kaddish according to your custom. If you don't have your own custom with regard to the Kaddish, I invite you to rise if you're able and join in. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, dam yaran b'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved wherever they may be. And let us say, amen. Let's be seated.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael.
A few announcements before we conclude our service. I think that Eric is not here, so I will do announcements this evening. Tomorrow morning, there is religious school at 9:15, and Rabbi Pinsky sent out the information to the religious school families. There will be Beyachad at 9:45 in the morning and Shabbat service at 11 a.m. So that is all as usual, but there is something else happening tomorrow that's very exciting, which is a bat mitzvah at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Edie Wadman, who is one of our religious school students, is having her bat mitzvah. It was postponed from the spring when we were in a bad place with the COVID-19. And so they didn't do it then, but postponed it to now. She is going to be doing her same Torah portion from the spring because we usually don't make children learn a whole new Torah portion. They're struggling enough as it is. So she is doing the Torah portion from last spring. We're going to do a Shabbat afternoon service. Everyone is invited to join on Zoom. I sent out the Zoom information today. It is different than the service information for earlier tomorrow. And the email I sent also has the prayer book we'll be using. It is going to be a hybrid service. There will be people there masked and social distanced in person, and I will be there in person. It'll be outdoors where we're using their porch as a bima. It's gonna all be very exciting, but there's a lot of people also joining on Zoom. So it'll be an interesting experiment of a hybrid service. Some of the participants are on Zoom and some of the people in the congregation are on Zoom. Some of the participants are in person and some of the congregation will be there in person. So please join for that if you are able and interested. Edie is a great kid. They're a great family, and it'll be very nice. And it'll be shorter than a regular Shabbat morning service because the afternoon service is a shorter service. On Monday, October 26th at 7:30 p.m., there's an investment committee meeting. On Tuesday, the 27th at 1 p.m., Rabbi Pinsky will be leading afternoon Torah study. That information now goes out to everyone on Monday or Tuesday morning, so anyone who wants can join on Zoom. I'm teaching confirmation class at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. And then on Friday, the 30th, we will have our second poetry text study at 7 p.m. and at 8 p.m. Shabbat service. There will be religious school, B'yachad, and a Shabbat service on Saturday, October 31st. Are there any other announcements that I am missing? Really? Great. Okay. I guess I didn't miss any. Alrighty then. So closing song.
In Kelohenu.
Okay.
In Kelohenu, in Kadonenu, in Kemalkeinu, in Kamoshienu, Michelohenu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Elohenu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Elohenu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
One more announcement. Don't forget to vote. That's very important. Make your plan. Make sure you vote. And also thank you to Noni and to Les and Diane and everyone who was here this evening. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.